All right, well, welcome everybody. This is for WDAMI and WDAMI Group. This is all of us. Thank you for joining. And about suppleness and relaxation tonight. So that's our topic. And I'll just apologize right up. I've got a cold, so got a cough drop, hoping not to cough. And I apologize. We're always training with the training wheel and the training tree, of course, used with permission by WDAA. And the second spoke of the wheel, suppleness, flexibility, elasticity with freedom and relaxation. And we just have to keep referring to the tree while we keep talking about these subjects to keep reminding us that we're training within a system and that we're always addressing each spoke of the wheel. And when something is going wrong with our training or with our horse, or we're not making the progress we're hoping to go back and address these spokes. So, suppleness, flexibility, and elasticity with freedom and relaxation. Um, this is the main topic here. Something to think about, though, that we need to talk about, which is a little bit the elephant in the room, is that biomechanic specialists, equine biomechanic specialists, tell us that suppleness, we use suppleness in a way that they don't use suppleness. And so we need to keep talking about how other groups of horse people use the word suppleness and how we use it. People that are in biomechanics, which are, our most advanced one here in the United States is Dr. Hilary Clayton. They keep talking to us about that when they refer to suppleness, that a lot of what we visualize as dressage judge and Western dressage judges and as trainers that we visualize as suppleness is genetic, in that horses have a predisposition genetically to have muscles that are loose looking, that are enabled, that look, it's the difference between like long muscles and short muscled and fast twitch muscles and slow twitch muscles. And so they use the word suppleness talking about this innate genetic predisposition. And we don't use the word quite that way because we're talking about every horse has what it has genetically, but we're using our training system to improve this. And so maybe we should also talk about flexibility, might be a really good word, elasticity with freedom. And of course, part of this on this spoke of the training wheel is the part about relaxation. So we have to keep talking about these all together. Here's a Mustang at the walk, and this is Dana Roberts on Amarillo. He was 4 years old in one of the basic tests. What we're looking at here is a horse easily reaching down. This is just a young Mustang, and you see a lot of sling through the back, a lot of that Marilyn Monroe walk look, and we see a lot of back suppleness here with good overtrack, nice reach to the connection, and very good stretch. This is the kind of relaxation we're looking for. And not only are we looking for this suppleness, flexibility, and balance in the free walk, but emotional relaxation on this 4-year-old in, I think that was an intro test. Yes, that was an intro test. So, not only are we looking for elasticity and freedom, but when we talk about freedom, people are like, what exactly does that mean? And it's also referred to in our horse circles as reach. Reach can be the crossing of the hind legs, like we see in this picture of some half path to the right, but it can also be reach through the forearms, which is the reach of the front leg, also reaching with height and length. And this is part of all of the development that we work on in Western dressage. So the other component at this point is within the spoke is relaxation. Excuse me, I'm going to cough. I am sorry. Physically, when a horse is actually working, the muscles are actually engaged. And so, relaxation is not when a muscle is actually slack, because when a horse is using its muscles, it's engaged. But what we're looking for is that the horse is working without bracing tension. So a muscle can be used and engaged and look supple and be flexible, or it can also be like you think of, you can close your hand around your rein and close your hand and make a fist. But you can also tension that hand and make isometric pressure within your fist, like I'm angry, I'm going to punch a wall, and you would make a fist, make your fist into a piece of concrete. That's the tension that we're talking about when there's tension within the muscles that the horse is not relaxed. And that can be emotional tension and physical tension. This mental relaxation that we talk about is the horse's attentiveness to the rider. And is it also confident in the work and its surroundings? So we're always thinking about our harmony with the horse, and if the horse itself is relaxed enough with our aids, confident with our aids, and confident in its surroundings, that it is relaxed enough or mentally with us enough to work without this negative tension. So just a quick picture here of a horse, pole high, soft connection, very active, back looks relaxed, and all of the muscles look active. You can see her muscles, but they look soft and round while she's obviously in a very active jog. That picture was taken out of this tape of this day, and so here she is picking up the jog and moving. So now when we talk about suppleness, you're looking at this horse as it goes away from you. You're going to see a very soft tail swing. She doesn't have a big tail swing like some horses, but a very soft flowing tail. As you look down her body, scan down her neck, sides, body, and haunches, you see the muscles working, but you do not see the muscles looking tight or tense. You don't see them looking stringy or tight. You do see the steps looking elastic. You see elastic and supple bending. When we talk about supple, we're also talking about the swing over the back. And as this horse moves away from us, we'll just push the button a little bit again. As she walks, you see the SI and haunch go left and right. And as she jogs, she has a nice active collected jog. And you see great relaxation over the back in the jog. Suppleness is one of those things that we're talking about the back. We're talking about backswing. We're talking about, do the muscles look relaxed? Do we see a horse that its tail looks soft and flowing? Do the ears on this horse, she has kind of oversized ears, they kind of go wobbly soft, that they're a little forward for a moment and then they flick back towards the rider. All of these things are indicators of relaxation and suppleness. And that's the problem when we use the word supple, is that although it's a noun, it's one of those things where we're like, okay, supple can be used in relationship to the horse in many ways. So are we talking, is the horse supple from back to front, that the horse bascules its back and it makes the circle of aids? Or are we talking about that it tends to be a relaxed horse and it has these nice soft looking muscles? Are we talking about it's supple in that this horse looks nicely flexible around the circles? Now all of a sudden this is becoming an adjective, this supple bend, supple engagement, supple back. So as we use the word supple, we begin to think about how we're applying supple and what we're talking about. Here is Wrangler, also Dana Roberts, one of her Mustangs, in a basic test when he was still quite green in his basic. And this is a horse that looks relaxed to us. And look at the tail. He's got a great tail swing. And when you have tail swing like that, that is an indicator of back movement, which is great. Some horses do not indicate that. And it doesn't mean the horse doesn't have back swing. It's just that if a horse does have it, it's a positive indicator. But he certainly looks attentive to the rider. His ears are going back and forth. His muscles are definitely active, but not tight. He keeps a pretty consistent balance and looks emotionally relaxed despite pouring weather. Not every horse is that cheerful. Okay, here is the same horse. I hope that the pictures of all of you, I'm going to move them everywhere. So the same horse in lengthening jog. To the left, a moment of negative tension, and to the right, a moment of very positive tension. And I thought it was very good to show you the same horse with the same rider, with the same tack, in the same ring, doing the same movement to show you the difference because we are looking for this. So here, some moment of tension. The back has dropped. Mouth is beginning to open a little bit. You can see the muscles look a little bit tighter, although the horse is clearly in a lengthened jog well off the ground. Here, there's more correction within the entire frame. The back is more up. You see that the neck has reached forward to the bridle more, that we have a more correct, softer looking connection with the bridle reaching the bit, the mouth and the bit reaching forward to the hand. Here a little bit, maybe the neck up, but the back dropping. And it's very important to have the same horse so that you can see, because I could have showed you these in two different horses and you'd be like, well, that's as good as that horse only ever does that well. So showing you the same horse is more effective to show you positive and negative tension. You know, we're always talking about horses' tension, and we have to talk about how to navigate emotional and environmental tension for horses. So we have to work on cross training. And, we need to anticipate environmental concerns and stresses for your horse. And we need to rehearse what our own responses are going to be and what our available training techniques are going to be and make a plan. So when we come out to work on things, and let's say that maybe that you have a horse that, shies at the judge's booth. Riders need to maintain their composure during training and schooling sessions. And that seems so obvious, but let's face it, it's not the easiest thing. When the horse is shying, possibly stopping, backing, turning around, you're worrying if you're going to get dumped today, or you come out and you have no idea why the horse is doing it. It's one thing if you know for sure that they shy at the judge's box, but how about when you come out today and the horse has never shied at the judging box and it's the same judging box, and all of a sudden you would swear that I don't know, there's a horse-eating creature inside the box. So it's important for us to maintain our composure and try to project confidence to the horse. And we have to work on improving our communication to enable emotional relaxation. It's really important that the horse is relaxed enough to retain the training work. So when the horse isn't relaxed, they don't retain training and they don't retain corrections. So we want to consider the following tips for staying composed. We're trying to stay calm. We need to actively listen to our horse, and you have to observe what the negative stimulators are so that you can figure out, is this horse tense from noise, or is the horse tense from objects, visible things? Is it a horse that we all know horses that light and dark problems? So snow coming under your indoor arena onto your brown footing is a problem. Or you might be in the same arena in the summer, but because of a light dark problem, now you have the dark footing of the arena, but you have a little sunspot in the summer and the horse is afraid of the sunspot in the dirt. Your job as the trainer rider is to try to figure out what are the negative stimulators and catalog those. Be prepared, understand your horse, and to be listening. It takes time to actually pause and reflect as to what's going on with a horse. when it's shying? Is it a flag? Is it the judge's booth? Is it the flower? Um, is it the loudspeakers that are way over there? They're not really near the judge's booth, but it's the loud noises. Figure out what your horse's problem is, if you can. While you're trying to deal with it actively, you're trying to maintain some kind of soft contact with it. You're trying to maintain a quiet demeanor. You're, trying to establish some kind of safe and correct parameters. So you need to regroup to something easier to do. You have to keep yourself safe. So first of all, assess your situation and figure out, can I get this under control and keep it safe? I have to be safe. If I don't think I'm safe, maybe I'm getting down. If I think I can stay up here, but I need to keep my horse safe too. So you have to figure out what parameters you can deal with. And then you begin to regroup. So you might have something just as simple as my horse is just tense in the corner of the ring today. That kind of a problem is something that you can work with the horse to regroup, figure out an easier exercise to establish some confidence and some harmony, and then work that horse around into that corner, allowing it to stop and look, allowing it to stand while you pat it. That your job is to keep yourself safe while you regroup and figure out what you need to do to be able to deal with the emotional or environmental tension that's occurring. When you're not sure, you go back to your cross training. You might need to get down and say, you know what, I'm going to try to lunge him in the corner that is really crazy over there. I may need to lead him over there. I may need to lead him over there and work on his whatever you're working on, like clicker training, or I'm going to give him a treat, or I'm going to sit there on the block and teach another riding lesson while I just hold him in that corner. Cross training or a cross opportunity, doing something besides riding, may be absolutely necessary. And anticipating what these concerns or stresses are going to be is now part of the assessment of over here where you were working on. Did you figure out what your problems are? Like, for example, if you know that you have a horse that has particularly difficult problems with noise, and well, you're going to take him to whirls this year. First of all, you might consider cross training by trying to find other rodeo arenas to get him into. You might get him trained to a noise canceling bonnet a little bit. You might consider earplugs if you've never used them. But all of those things are things that you're looking ahead because you're anticipating what your concerns are. And one of the things to do is actually, when you're not on the horse and you're not in a stressful situation, to rehearse in your mind what to do. For example, you know that your horse is one of those horses that every time somebody leaves something on the edge of the ring, like, for example, the rider before you leaves her blue jacket slung over the door, that your horse comes up and says, "Blue jacket by the door." And if tomorrow it might be that the guy cleaning the stall left the shovel there, or anything that is out of place that is different from yesterday is a problem. When you're not riding, you rehearse your responses of what you're going to do. You make a plan. You think about, I'm going to introduce the horse to this object. I'm going to take my time with that. I'm going to stop and pat them. I'm going to work around that area. I'm going to keep giving the horse rewards, pats, treats, and breaks near the object, which is the problem. And every day I'm going to keep working on this to make my plan to improve this. So having a plan and anticipating your problems, figuring out what you need to do to cross-train to deal with your problem can be very helpful for any emotional or environmental tension. So when we're looking for visual clues of relaxation and suppleness, we were looking at them before on the videotapes, but a softly swinging tail versus horses that have absolutely stiff tails that stick directly out are an indicator of the back being tight. A ride tail, if you're familiar with that term, it is a horse that carries the tail chronically to the side, and that is a indicator of usually difficulties of tension in the back and frequently not being straight. Also, of course, anxious whirling of the tail, slashing the tail a lot during a test is definitely an indicator of tension. But a nice soft eye versus a slitty eye, horses' eyes that get really thin looking, very slitty looking. Also, the worried eye, where you kind of see a lot of wrinkly eyebrow, can be a real problem. But looking for a nice soft eye while a horse is working is an indicator. Um, Western dressage judges are busy judging so many things. You know, is your horse round to the bridle? Is it in connection? How's your hands? Do you have your legs on? Are you performing the movement? But you know, we actually see all these very small indicators too. They're not the first thing that we're looking at, but they are part of your whole picture, and we do actually notice all of these things. You know, floppy or listening ears are always very cool to see, and we notice them versus, you know, very tense, tight, or flattened ears are more of a negative indicator of a horse that's uncomfortable or not confident. A quiet, closed, or a softly chewing mouth versus a gaping mouth, tongue up or pulled out, or grinding teeth is always you know, kind of a tension kind of a thing. Neck muscles that look smooth and elasticy versus muscles that look tight and or the neck tight or short is a negative visual. The haunches and abdomen look smooth and they look like they're moving versus an abdomen that appears to be very tucked up or sucked up. Tight or tight haunches can look really tight, and muscles that look tight or what we refer to as ropey, that you can see strings of muscles under under the skin. Those are indicators of tension and sometimes also chronic pain, actually. The legs, you know, we're always looking at the stride, the action of the horse looking fluid. We want it to look effortless as opposed to, you know, stiffening forelegs or any bracing, anything that looks driven, reluctant, choppy, or tight. So these are the words that we talk about, judges together, about the visual clues of relaxation or suppleness. So we've just talked about all these cues. So we're looking for softly flopping ears. This mare's tail flows around kind of softly. She comes into this lengthening, and you see her lengthen her neck and collect through a very tight turn. This is actually level 5 test for very difficult for amazingly difficult for Western dressage, I'll tell you. They don't even ask us to do that at Grand Prix dressage. Uh, but cannot extend and collect with such a tight turn. But soft looking muscles, I mean, obviously looks engaged and is active, but the muscles look shiny and round and active. She lengthens through the top line. Her neck did lengthen. The pole is the highest point. We do have suspension. The front and the hind legs are equal in the reach forward, and the pole the highest point into a square halt. So kind of looking for that in this particular thing, we saw a lot of back to front from when you see the extension to the collection through the turn and then out again. So what this particular video is showing us is back suppleness from front to back. All right. So suppleness with relaxation and elasticity. In this picture on the left, you can see these really soft ears just kind of flopping. You see a horse coming into the lengthened jog well off the ground. But what we're looking at here is you have a closed mouth, you have a soft tail, you have a very soft rein connection here, and the horse looks relaxed. In the picture to the right, in the middle of the half pass, you see very good crossing of the hind legs. Look at the X in very good position. The ears are soft, the mouth is closed, and the muscles look round and elastic. It's difficult, and it's a difficult thing to think about talking about what happens when you have a loss of relaxation or suppleness. And of course, we've just talked about environmental concerns and mental concerns. However, one of the most important things to look for is actual physical pain. And that is actually one of the number one reasons that horses are chronically not relaxed and are chronically not supple. So, physical problems, pain, any unsoundness at all, which could be anything like the feet, the back, legs, spine. It can be the horse's teeth. Its poll can be out of adjustment. The tack can be a problem. Ulcers are so common, it's unbelievable. Balance, and when I'm referring to this, we're talking about little neurological problems, but a horse that has been exposed to EPM or is recovering from it, anything that causes systemic inflammation, such as Lyme. And Lyme is one of those things that, it's one thing if you have an active case of Lyme and you get it caught and you treat it, but a lot of horses have chronic Lyme and it comes on, goes on and off. And we find that systemic inflammation from Lyme is very, very significant. Horses become neurologically very disturbed, like very, very sensitive to noise. They're hypersensitive to your aids. They start shying. Horses that have always been quiet. So if you have some kind of a change in your horse's behavior, really look at what could be the problem. If it many, many times horses' resistances are not that they don't want to work. It's that they don't feel well and they're unable to work. And Lyme really overstimulates the nervous system, particularly. So you can have a horse that's having a real lack of cognitive clarity, meaning they're just not thinking straight and they're not themselves, just like a sick person is not cognitive. Horses aren't either, and they are less safe when they are in pain. Dehydration is absolutely the first thing that affects the horse cognitively, and it affects their balance. Any kind of a metabolic imbalance, hormones or nutritional, will affect the horse greatly. And if your aids are in any way or some strange way painful or uncomfortable to a horse, any of these problems can be a reason why a horse loses its relaxation or suppleness. So one of the first things to always do is say, is there any chance at all that anything is going wrong? So accounting for the loss of mental relaxation, it can be caused by pain. But it can also be caused by past trauma. And specialists in horse behavior say that horses, like people, also suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome. And if a horse has experienced a trauma, that they will relive that trauma under the same stimulus, just as we do. Any kind of external stressor like exhaustion, lack of sleep. I can't tell you how many times that we've been at horse shows with horses in the stall and we've come in and it's been very clear that some disturbance in the stable kept all of the horses up. And you go to work your horse, which you're very, very used to your horse, and you're like, wow, it's like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde because this horse didn't sleep last night. And all the other horses were keeping it up. One got out and ran around as everybody was awake all night. So it can be the most unusual thing that can cause a problem for you. A horse in an unfamiliar environment, any kind of overstimulation, scary, anything that scared it, and metabolic imbalances, any kind of confusion, the horse loses mental relaxation. A lot of horses actually have performance anxiety. It's not something that a lot of people talk about, but trainers talk about it. That horses actually know when they're headed into competition. And maybe anxiety isn't always the way. Some horses, it's more like they're very excitable as they go into a test, but they want to do well. And sometimes having a plan to work with the horse uh, and your warm up just prior to going into competition and being sure that you are thinking about how does this horse react as I go in the ring, and having a plan to keep that horse relaxed so that he or she begins her test relaxed without anxiety can be a real positive situation for a rider, and it's something to work on and think about. So cross training, well, what are we talking about? Well, almost anything. Your horses may need to really be exposed to a lot of things in order to be more successful in their lives. So maybe the horse, needs some lunging with side reins because they're a little too frisky for me to get on today, or they're shying in the corner. Um, do some work on the ground and improve your harmony, improve your skills, improve your aids. Expose them to things like the yoga ball and all of these obstacles. Here we are in showmanship class. This is my Western dressage horses in the English showmanship class. There were 30 horses in that class because, well, needs to learn to stand around and needs to learn to stand around square and be at the local fair with the rides in the background. So taking horses to other places, work on your cross training and expose them to situations in a positive way. Make a plan that you're going to have a positive experience for your horse in order to improve and work on the cross training. So, ways to cross train. Well, working in hand, of course, long lining, lunging or lunging in side reins, round penning. There are tons and tons of cool obstacle work that can be done, all kinds of obstacle work, trail and working ack and all kind, extreme obstacles, but always good things for horses to do. Train in some other division. Almost all of our Western dressage horses are used to do something else, and it is so much fun. So go to a competition or take a horse to a clinic to get it some exposure off the farm. You can also call up a friend and say, hey, can I come over and ride with you? You can call the local indoor and say, can I pay for an hour to ride in the indoor? I just need to take my horse somewhere and practice. And when you get there, if you feel like they're not relaxed enough, then you go to your cross training. You might start by walking them. You might lunge them before you got on. You might do some in-hand work, side pass them over a pole, get them to calm down before you even begin thinking about getting on. And of course, there's always things like trail riding and hill work, cavaletti or pole work. So almost anything can be some really cool cross training. But cross training can do a number of things. It can expose the horse to situations. It can help with environmental concerns. It can give it some new skills actually. And a lot of the skills that we're looking for, like cavaletti work or pole work actually does make horses more supple. It frequently improves their reach, which we were talking about, and their length of stride. They get used to picking their legs up and lifting their thoracic and engaging the hind legs. So many of these actually improve your Western dressage work. So keeping in mind that we're always talking about training with the training wheel and it has impact. Suppleness is to some extent genetic, but correct training with relaxed, confident communication for retention improves every horse's suppleness, flexibility, elasticity, and it will show enhanced confidence and relaxation. A horse is unable to exhibit suppleness without energetic continuous impulsion, and we need to keep thinking about that. Impulsion is a main component of suppleness when you're riding, because it's what produces backswing. And backswing is mentioned at all levels under the impulsion score in the collective gaits in Western dressage. So horses must come close to tracking up in the walk and the jog to exhibit good backswing or good back suppleness. And we do have to talk about that because in order, while a horse is being ridden, for it to show the energy that it needs to see that the back is undulating and that it is active, a horse has to be very active in the walk and have a lot of energy or impulsion in the jog and the lope so that the quality of the energy is moving, and that promotes back suppleness. Without enough energy, that back suppleness does not become evident. We all know Joanne. I hope she's out there today, but here's Joanne and Wharf in a beautiful half pass. This horse has a lovely tail swing. And he's always an elegant, elastic mover. I never saw this horse not looking supple. I just never see Worf not looking supple. I'm sure he had his moments because all the horses do. I showed you a bad picture of Lilith, but I never happened to catch Worf in a bad moment. So, Joanne, kudos to you, my dear. There he is, looking gorgeous. So supporting suppleness and relaxation with frequent. So what do we have to do? Here's the list with frequent medical evaluation. Keep on top of your horse's health. Get the vet, have health exams regularly and include hoof practitioners in the discussion of hoof health, shoeing, and trimming. Keeping your horse medically supported and keeping their feet correctly balanced and trimmed or shod really affects horses' suppleness and relaxation because without good feet, they're in pain. So, nutritional support, one of the things that we don't talk a lot about and probably should, but being sure that nutritionally the horse is well balanced. Tack evaluation. We all fuss about this, but it is difficult. So, making sure that the saddles uh, are well fitting, that the horse has enough freedom in the shoulder to work correctly, that the rider is balanced correctly, that the bit is hung correctly, not too tight, not too low, that we have the right tack and it's comfortable. All the time you want to reevaluate your current training program. Keep referring to the training wheel. Mine hangs up in the stable, and I come in and have to pass by it every time I tack up and untack, and it's right near the grooming box. And as I walk by it, my brain is kind of going, yeah, good today on the relaxation, check mark. Yeah, she was round to the bridle. Really, that was great contact, felt really good. She seemed very confident with that. Oh, impulsion. Oh, I needed a little more energy today in the lope. Okay, need to work on that tomorrow. Bending felt pretty good today, check mark. Your brain should be running through that list, check mark, not check mark. If there's not a check mark, go back to what do I need to do to deal with that? Was she, there wasn't enough energy as I approached, there's the blue jacket slung over the rail that she's shying at. So that was where she was tense, didn't have emotional relaxation there. Deal with that. Figure out, am I, gonna put a blue jacket in her stall? I'm gonna make her go by it every day. I'm gonna go over there and feed her cookies, but make a plan to deal with it. Using your training wheel every day is part of how you will progress and keep your horse supple and relaxed. Use your cross training as you need it and keep in mind that they need appropriate rest. So they need sleep. Horses actually need layoffs. They need times where they are not actually trained 52 weeks of the year. Also, for horses that have long layoffs, they need leg up periods. And don't forget, of course, which it goes without saying, but within each work session, frequent walk breaks and keeping in mind that there are horses that need to rest, and you have to think about whether they rest at the free walk or they rest more at the halt or they rest more in medium walk, because there are horses that the free walk is not restful for them. They don't feel like they're with you because they're not in contact. So figure out emotionally how your horse has to rest within its work period and work and allow that horse to have a rest period frequently. Evaluate all of your management and stable practices for managing your horse's happiness, health, and soundness, and just address anything that you're thinking about for this year and see if you can make an improvement. One more little bit of tape to just look at the soft floppy ears, pull is the highest point, swing in the back, looks supple through the turning, shows bend, the muscles don't look tight, the neck is relaxed and reaching forward. And that's our goal at all levels, to have the horse looking active, the back moving, and this horse has a lot of swing, and the SI has a lot of swing in the jog, left, right over the SI, and known as back suppleness. And Amarillo, a little bit, he's going to step out of the halt for us, but this is the 4-year-old again, just to give us a little reminder of what a horse might look like at age 4 at the beginning of his intro test. Just an active little swinging guy, swinging along, looking steady in a soft connection, pulls the highest point, quiet rider, tail swinging, and he tracks up. But this is, very good for a little guy that's 4. This is lovely and very steady for a young horse. And that's the kind of thing we're looking for in this suppleness. So suppleness is flexibility with relaxed confidence. And we're looking to show suppleness from back to front through the top line and laterally through bend. This is a lengthening to a haunches in. So you see that extension, and then you see the bend to the left, and you see your pull come left around my elbow, and that's how you know that the horse has enough bend. Plenty of crossing behind, no tempo change, steps all the same. That was what we were looking for generally. Oops. Oh, one more. Let's go here. And so, looking for more information, we have more meetings, and I'm just reminding us all, the second Tuesday of the month, February, March, and April coming up. So don't forget, if you're not on the list, or tell your friends to contact Mary. Also, Noda and Glass Ed, who we often work with, are having educational calls Thursdays. There's one this Thursday. Contact Sally Burton if you'd like to join. Those are with me. And Tuesdays, February 10th and 17th at 7 p.m. Eastern, is a master class on intro and basic, sort of take your first steps or review intro and basic. So if you're looking for more education this winter, here are some of our opportunities right up there. And thank you very much. We're ready for discussion and Q&A, and I do want to take this time to thank Mary because she was essential to getting this all together. Whoops. Thank you, Mary. And we
Right, I
can,
just want to mention that our WDAMI meeting for February is the third Wednesday because
oh,
of the
good.
judges conference.
Right. I'm sorry, I got
So
that
that's
wrong.
okay. Normally they are on the second, but Joanne Coy, who's our speaker next time, is at the judging seminar. So we moved it to the third Tuesday. And I'll post it on Facebook, and we'll send out another
Okay.
email
That
with
will be February 17.
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
good. Great. All right, let me get this off here and we can go to discussion.
I have two chats if you want me to read them to you, and then open it up to more questions if you want.
Yes, let me
So
get this off here and out of here, and let's push the stop share. How about there we
there you
go.
go. So
Okay, thank you very
Janet
much.
said, are dead tails an issue in Western dressage?
Well, I know we got a lot of judges on here. Um, Well, here's the deal. I know, and we should, I know, I think Joanne, I know Joanne Coy's on here, and I think Joanne Williams is on here, so we should talk to them too. It within, personally for me and within dressage, and we don't see this too much in Western dressage, but we see it some in English dressage, and usually when you see that, a horse's tail has been damaged. So you're going to assume it was an accident. I'm just putting that out there. Because if a horse rears over backwards and they break their tail, then sometimes the tail is dead. Um, and it depends on how far up the tail it is, whether there's much movement at all. The 3 or 4 horses that I saw that dealt with this, that I knew a lot about, they were pretty stiff in the back, but they had actually had accidents. There are divisions that purposefully damage the tail to the horse, and this is really frowned on. And we really don't like this. And when I say we, most horse people don't like it, and judges comment on it. So I think judges are left with they really have to look closely when you see a horse with a dead tail, then you really have to begin to look very closely at all the rest of the performance to figure out if neurologically anything else has gone wrong with that horse. So I guess as a judge, I would say that it's a negative indicator to a judge because now it draws their attention to a possible problem. And then, a microscope starts going over that horse like, I wonder what happened here. Now I really have to assess its back. Now I'm looking at its SI. I'm looking at its hips. I'm looking to see if it's engaging. Is that Joanne Coy that I can see right there, or Joanne Williams? Either one. Would you like to chime in? Because this isn't something we deal with every day.
There's a comment
Oh,
from Janet Henderson that says, as a breed judge, we're trained to watch for dead tail and not an
What kind of
accident.
a breed judge are you, is what we'd like to know, ma'am.
hi, everybody. I am a medium Equestrian Canada judge and a WSDAC judge for Western
Okay.
Dressage,
Hmm.
but I have
Wonderful.
traveled.
Thank you. Nice to
Oh,
meet you.
I'm very pleased to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.
Um, as an Arabian judge,
Yes.
we get involved in quarter horses. Also, this is a real problem, and it's done purposefully so that
Ooh,
expression is frowned upon, right? And so
that's too bad. Isn't that terrible? Because it's an indicator of a supple back.
exactly. So as a dressage judge, it's very offensive.
Yes.
But as a breed judge, we're instructed like to take big points off.
Good.
So and if it's a group class, they go to the bottom of the card or off the card.
Great.
And for instance, sport horse in hand, with which I'm extremely involved, it's a 10-point penalty. So any
Oh yeah, that would be terrible.
scored class, it's a
Yes.
10-point penalty.
Hmm.
So that's why I asked, because it's a very interesting process, because it's kind of like when you have freezing in your face, and then as the freezing comes out, you're sort of poking at it. The tail will start to twitch as the freezing is coming out. So if you watch it now, and that's why I asked, because in Canada I have not seen in Western dressage judging, but of course in breed shows I have seen. So I thought, well, your population base is way bigger than mine.
We
Um,
I haven't seen this in Western dressage,
okay,
except for, I will say this, I did see a horse that had come off the quarter horse circuit
right.
and it had come over.
Mhm.
And it was being shown at an unrecognized show. And afterwards, a lot of people came up to chat with me because the next day I was doing a clinic and this girl was coming into the clinic. And I asked her
The
about her
tail.
horse. I didn't ask her about the tail, but I asked her about the horse.
Okay.
And she claimed the horse had reared over backwards and damaged its tail. And I did run my hand down the tail, and the horse's tail had been broken. It
Okay.
was crooked.
Right.
But, I that was the
I
only
I
time.
guess just my point of a question is, people should watch for it because people that are crossing over from the breeds, whether it's quarter horse, Arabian, whichever,
Mhm.
might think that this is a desirable thing, and we should be. You can't make comment because you don't have proof. You can say
Right.
lack of swinging tail, whatever, and deduct a half a point, or because it's with all the other indicators added in as such. So I apologize for intruding, but I
Well,
thought it
no,
was
we like to talk about things. That's what we're here for. I'm
yeah.
so glad you did. Yeah, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a subject to talk
Yeah.
about. We will say this, we don't see it much. So
Okay,
far.
good.
So far, we'll say so
So
far we
far.
haven't seen it much.
Okay.
Yes,
Thank
it is
you.
rare at this point, but it is something that horsemen
Keep an
here
eye.
really don't like. Yes.
No.
So
Okay,
you
I,
can
thank you.
feel.
I I would like to add a little
Hi,
bit to
Joanne.
this excellent discussion here. Um, if I saw a horse, especially if it was a stock horse, I really have to look at the entire horse because maybe, I mean, there was a lot of tail stuff going on in the stock horse world for quite a while. Maybe this is an older horse that had his tail altered long before he came into Western dressage. And if the horse is using his body correctly, I'm pretty much going to ignore the tail and give that rider the benefit of the doubt. But I have to look at the entire horse. Now, if I see tension in the horse's body, in his movement, well, then my comment isn't going to be about the tail. It's going to be about tension through the top line,
Right,
tight in the back,
right.
not coming through, et cetera, like that, and probably leave any comment about the tail out of the picture.
Right. I agree completely. And that's the thing is there are horses that are very relaxed in the back, have a lot of swing, and they don't swing their tails, but you'll see that they maybe have a really nice soft arch to it, but they're
Mhm.
like your horse that we saw, Worf, he really
Yeah.
moves the tail. And when you see that, that's an indicator of backswing. But there are horses that have backswing that the tail doesn't look like that. It's just nice. It's just there. And that's okay too. So we don't want to focus just on the tail. We have to judge the whole horse. But my comment was just that when we're looking at visual
I'm
clues,
watching this
this
video.
is one of our visual clues.
Hmm.
If it's there, and it may or may not be there. So good
Yeah.
point, Joanne. Good.
I'm
Absolutely.
watching a training
I'm with
video.
you.
How are
All right, we
you?
have a couple more questions on different
Sure.
topics. So Marcia asks, she says my horse tends to be on the pokey side, so I need to encourage her to liven up in our test. I often
Yes,
end up making her tense when I'm trying to liven her up. Any tips for encouraging energy and maintaining relaxation?
absolutely. Well, um, who was it that asked that?
Marcia Van Owen.
Hi, Marcia. Oh,
Let
good.
me
Good
add one
question.
more thing to that. She's a Tennessee Walker, and she tends to like her gait, so her working jog, her saddle gait, tends to be a little bit naturally slower than some other Tennessee Walkers that you might see. I actually had one judge write that on my test, and I went, "Yes, finally." So,
Somebody
relax
recognized it. Good
who
for
my horse
you.
is, but I always feel like I'm needing to push her to get her to do,
A
to
little more energy.
yeah, active, but
Hmm.
to keep the
Hmm.
relaxation. So I was
Hmm.
just trying to figure out how to do that
This,
effectively.
setting your horse's balance and tempo, finding the saddle gait or finding the correct tempo of the jog for each horse is part of us training the horse. And that can be done in a lot of ways. And one of the reasons that we were talking about cross training is that horses that are not energetic enough for the specific gait that we need within the test can sometimes be asked on the lunge line or in the round pen for the gait, for the energy of the impulsion and the gait that you want. And you can train the horse, not, we don't lunge horses more than 15 minutes at my place. We don't round pen them more than that either. So it's not something you're going to go out and do for hours and hours. But what you do is you do it 4 days a week before you ride. What you're doing is you train the horse the tempo without weight, the energy that you want there because you're not, it's not your riding aids that got the horse stressed. Meanwhile, he gets used to this energy level and he learns this energy level, and you keep telling him, good boy, and you keep giving him rewards for doing this. And this is why cross training is so important. And, when you go out trail riding, you get your friend to go in front of you and you say, look, I got to get to this energy level. You go ahead. You think up, you use it, go uphill. All of the tricks that you can use to get this horse more energetic. Then when you go in the ring to do your working dressage, your Western dressage, you have to really talk to yourself and really think about how your equitation is. Because what you're saying to me is he gets a little stressed when I push him. And I'm thinking we really have to look at our equitation. Are by mistake, when I start to push him, do I hold with my hands? That could be a problem. Troubleshooting. Another troubleshoot could be tight thighs are brakes on horses. So by mistake, while you're trying to use your lower leg, is your upper leg engaging? Your upper leg, the thigh is a brake on a horse. It's part of the downward transition aid. So if your thigh is tight, you've got the park brake on while you're asking him to go. You're going to explore all your equitation and be sure that crazy things like horses slow down when their saddles aren't level. Do you lean? Do you lean by mistake and you don't know it? So, maybe check if you have a riding instructor, get your riding instructor to give you a little check on your equitation and your alignment. Be sure your aids look good. For many horses that don't cover enough ground, and riders say to us, my horse doesn't go forward. Um, for centuries, books have told us to use our calf to when you're asking a horse to go forward. But the reality of it is that most American women, I mean, a tall American woman is 5'7", 5'8". And the reality of it is that where the sweet spot on most horses is, 90% of the horses, when it says your calf, do you know the dirtiest part of my boot? And I know that Joanne is going to nod her head. Joanne Williams is just about to nod because we talked about this the other day. The dirtiest part of our boot is if you wear paddock boots, it's right at the top of your paddock boot, right above your paddock boot, right at your ankle, the lowest part of your calf. So that if you're using your upper calf, it's too far up on the horse's barrel, and when you use your upper calf, it squeezes your thigh. So these are just some little troubleshooting ideas for you to really look at. And the very last thing is horses that are lethargic. 90% of them have an ulcer. Just FYI, I'm not giving veterinary advice. I'm not giving any. I'm just saying, as a trainer, horses that don't go forward, the first thing we do is treat them for ulcer. And we do it. So some suggestions. And then, good luck and keep in touch. And if you need more help, just call. Because
it was really fun is that I worked on a freestyle last year, so I figured out my tempo, and she got to know the music. So as soon as the music was on, she would just click into that tempo, and I went, man, maybe I'll just only ever do freestyles because she just moves along so nicely.
that may have helped you in that. What if you worked a little bit more, not to just one type of music, but pick out music that has that timing, that's the correct timing, and use it to school until you recognize your tempo. You need to recognize your tempo.
Yeah.
And then that would help you. A lot of people use a metronome in the ring. When they're not doing musical freestyle, they're using a metronome though, because they're trying to teach themselves their correct energy level and they know that they don't have it yet.
Yeah.
It will come to you, but you do need to focus on it. But the exciting thing is you've already identified what your problem is and you are reaching out and you're making a plan. that means you're more than 60% done with you're going to achieve this because you already recognize it and you're making a plan. That's 60% done.
Thank
That's
you.
awesome.
Ida, we have one more question if we have time for it. It's from Jamie. So she says, my mare gets comments about being relaxed, but she does not offer stretch down in the walk. She tracks up and the walk, but no stretch. Do you have any exercises to help encourage the stretch?
Yes, although what you're missing is your neck lowering half halt. So there is actually an aid, which is the neck lowering half halt. We just ran the half halt course. Joanne Williams might chime in on this, but you do have to learn the aids to ask the horse to lower its neck, and we have a set of aids to do that. And you just need to learn those aids. And when you come to that movement, you give the horse the neck lowering half halt, and they reach down to it. It's probably one of those things that you didn't learn in your riding lesson, but many of us don't learn it. Most of us only learn the breaking half halt, and we're lucky if we can get the horse on the bit, but we certainly don't learn the whole system of half halts. And that's something you just, you need a riding instructor, you get on it and you stretch them down. And to get more over track, use some pulls on the ground. You can get a little bit more reach out of a horse by putting them over ground pulls, and that'll work. But Joanne, you found the half halt. Joanne Williams has taken my half halt course twice live. She just completed it. Feel free to chime in, Joanne.
Well, the downward half halt can really help the horse understand what he's supposed to do and is just invaluable. It's easy to ask, and the return to neutral give the horse the room to stretch down into the bridle, which I think some people try to get their free walk by separating and lowering their hands. And all that does is cause the horse's neck to curl up, and they go way behind the vertical because there is no freedom. And with the downward half halt, when you release it, you've given that horse the freedom to reach down and keep the profile slightly in front of the vertical.
While the horse
Now,
keeps the thoracic up.
yes, and
Yes.
I'll often, I will also teach kind of a voice command in connection with this on the ground. I've even resorted to holding a treat in my hand, putting my hand behind the pole on the neck, saying the word down, stretch, down. And
you can use a
then
verbal aid.
and when I start to work on it in the saddle, the horse already knows what that means. So I can combine my voice command with the downward half halt. And that's for the ones that the downward half halt is harder for them to understand, or they're reluctant to stretch for another reason. You talked a bit about mental relaxation, and often the lack of stretch is a little bit, can be a mental component to it. The horse may just be unsure of what he's supposed to do, no matter how correctly you apply the aids.
The system of half halts is something that you can learn, and we have it on my online academy. You can take a self-guided course. We just ran a live course where you actually got feedback from me, like a riding lesson. But you can get help with this, and all it is you need a little more instruction. And you liked the course, didn't you,
I
Joanne?
highly recommend. This has been so useful for all of my students. And it makes so much sense. And the horses understand this system. So you have my highest recommendation for everybody here to start that course.
Thank you.
You will, yeah.
Mary, got more
You'll learn a
comments?
lot.
That is That is it, and we're at 8:10. So if anyone has a burning question, it's now or
Anybody else?
Well,
We'd love to
where
hear
is
from you.
the AIDS thing you were just talking about? I was the one who asked the question.
Okay. Do you have my email, Jamie?
Yeah, I
Uh,
should.
Jamie, send me an email, like right now tonight, and I'll send you a link right back to my Zenler Online Academy and get you right to it, and you can have a look at it.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. You're welcome. No problem. That was wonderful. No, would love to
Ida,
hear
thank
from.
you so much. This was a
Thank you.
great session, and I loved all the other judges chiming in, especially our Canadian friends. So that was exciting
Yes, thank
to have
you.
somebody
That was
there. But
fun.
this was really a good session, and I appreciate all your work and helping us and
Thank you too, Mary.
getting us off to a good start for our winter series.
That's good. We're looking forward to it. It'll be fun. Thank you,
Yeah.
everybody. Have a great week.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.